Welcome to another week of Huddle Up here on Northwest Access TV, coming to you live from St. Albans, Vermont. Your host, Paul. Bryce, slowly creeping in to my camera. To my right, JT, Dustin. Good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
I'm trying not to be creepy over here like some...
He doesn't really try. It just naturally, seeps out.
It must be part of that magic thing with him.
It's something magical about him that I'm not quite really ready to pick up on.
That's right.
Here we go. Show starters. I'm going to start with mine because it completely threw me for a loop. John Lynch, I was talking about this on Fox Sports, that John Lynch actually asked Bill Belichick if he considered trading Tom Brady to the 49ers this year. And according to reports, Belichick had to ask him 3 times what he was actually asking him because he was unsure that he heard him right. And honestly, as a Patriots fan and hearing all the talk that Belichick had said about how much he loved Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm actually a little shocked that he didn't at least pique a little bit of interest, see what he would have gotten for Tom Brady, because I feel like it would have been the absolute world. You're talking draft.
10 first-round draft picks.
12. I want 12 for every number on his jersey. I want 12 first-round draft picks. And honestly, I don't think even if it were to happen, in the craziest worlds to happen, there's no way Brady would have lasted more than a year in San Francisco, because he would have
lasted 2 weeks.
He would have retired. I'm just saying he would have retired. He would have been like, you know what? I'm good. I'm out.
I don't think he would retire if the San Francisco was a good team, because he grew up in the Bay Area. He grew up watching.
Right, and I've always thought that after the 4th Super Bowl against Seattle, that he might end his career in San Francisco. I always thought that's a possibility, but now it's looking like he's never going to leave New England, which is great for me. I'm fine with that.
Props to John Lynch. Got to shoot your shot, bud.
Right. And that was back when he was being denied Garoppolo, and he says, "What about Brady?" And so that was just one of the things. I thought it was kind of funny. John, over to you.
Oh, me. What am I doing? I forget. Oh, NFL fights. That's right. Put them up. So we had
Friday Night Lights to Sunday Day Fights.
We had some epic battles in the NFL this week. We had blindside hits. We had fists to helmets, which I find really epically amazing. Considering, are you trying to break your hand?
It always reminds me of who was the center for the Knicks that did that? Stoudemire. Didn't he punch the glass of a fire extinguisher?
Yes, he did. And he broke his hand.
Broke his hand doing that. So.
And then who was the other one? There was another fight too.
There were a couple. There were like 3.
Evans.
There were 3 or 4.
Mike Evans. There
AJ
was
Green.
AJ Green.
Yeah.
Who was the other one? It was in the late game. I don't remember. Anyway,
I'm blanking. I don't know.
I found it really amusing. I found it kind of sad in a way that you get ejected for some of this stuff. Ramsey got ejected for pushing Green down. Green got ejected for punching him
Ramsey
30 times in the head.
One time, and then once they were on the ground, is a little different. But now the takedown itself, I actually enjoyed that. I like a little rough, kind of back and forth between it. I'm fine with it. I don't like the whole punching of the helmet and all that stuff.
The part that I found funny is you had AJ Green get pushed down, which seemed so over dramatic.
Oh,
I mean,
completely.
Ramsey walked over then and was just like.
Honestly, I don't think it was so much an over dramatic. I think it was he wasn't expecting it. So when you get touched, it kind of like it jolts you a little bit. It's like, oh, what just happened? And you fall down.
Are receivers this flimsy here?
I'm just saying.
I mean, come on.
Completely thrown off.
I mean, as a fan of football who also grew up watching professional wrestling back in the day, I always enjoy a good old-fashioned German suplex or
chokehold is
whatever they are. But I do have a piece of advice for AJ Green. If you get paid millions of dollars to catch a football, take the guy's helmet off before you start hitting him.
For real.
Because, look, offensive.
You got to learn from hockey players.
Get it? Like you got to drop the gloves, you got to drop the helmets, and then
they can't drop
pull
the
the jersey over the head.
They're too
pull the
sticky.
jersey
They can't
over the
drop
head.
the
But
gloves.
it's like AJ Green. Like I get you're mad, but like when Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan had their fight a couple years ago,
that was fun.
They took their helmets off, so
but then he started.
got hurt.
Wasn't he going to swing? Wasn't he swinging with his helmet?
No, I don't think he was swinging
No,
with his
he
helmet.
threw his helmet at him.
Threw his helmet,
worse.
and then he started swinging with his hands. But take the helmet off, AJ Green. Come on, fight pro tip here.
All right, Dustin, go for it. Show starter.
Speaking of fighting, my show starter is actually in the world of hockey. As some people know, I'm a Colorado Avalanche fan. A good player of the Colorado Avalanche got traded in the middle of a game Sunday night.
Does he have to actually come off the ice when you're traded mid-game?
So Matt Duchene of the Colorado Avalanche was on the trade block for roughly 6 months, and in the middle of the Islanders game Sunday night, the trade was executed. So he followed an injured player off the ice, like snuck behind the injured player, and then was put on a taxi to get on a plane to go to Ottawa, like 30 minutes. The game was still going on. And to make matters...
Probably listen to it on the radio as he's...
And to make matters even more funny, the Avalanche are playing the Colorado Avalanche are playing the Ottawa Senators, the team you just traded to, in a 2-game international series in Sweden this weekend. So this guy goes off the ice to Ottawa, to Sweden, to play against his old team 2 nights in a row for his first 2 games. So
the one player I was thinking about was for the Mets. His name was Joel Youngblood, which I wish there was a guy in this era named Joel Youngblood. That's a great name.
That's an epic name.
He was traded mid-game from the Mets to Chicago, from the Mets to the Expos. He played a day game in Wrigley, got a hit, went to the Expos that day, played a night game against Philly, also got a hit. Only player to have 2 hits with 2 separate teams in the same day.
I just found it really interesting because in-game trades don't really happen a lot, and when they do happen,
but like I said, they do happen in
baseball
baseball a lot more, especially during the trade deadline. When you see a player who's completely healthy, all of a sudden they're coming off the field. Like, wait, why is he coming off the field? Because he was just traded. So
And it was just interesting to watch.
I'm a firm believer that if a player is traded mid-game to the team that they are currently playing, that he just starts playing for the other team in that
That
same
would be
game.
fantastic.
I'm a firm believer in that.
They just throw a jersey on.
no jersey. Keep the same jersey on. Stay out on the field.
Could
so
you see
it
that in
happens
like
mid.
a Boston Yankees series?
Well, think about it. It happens mid-inning. So he's out playing center field.
Just stay there.
You just stay there.
Yeah,
Don't
just
have
stay
to
there.
go. You just stay there. You don't have to come in or anything. But when you go to the dugout, make sure you go to the other one. Bryce, your show starter?
Yeah, my show starter is about the new NBA jerseys this year that are
Something
now
has to
made
change.
by Nike.
Yeah.
They stink.
They are being shredded.
So not only that they're
They're
tearing
not what they seem.
down the hey,
Quick.
That's right. That's right.
This show,
So-
3 dads. God. This is awful.
So LeBron's
Technically
jersey
4
tour.
dads. I had 2.
you count as one dad, all right? You have 2 kids.
I'm
but
twice
2
the dad.
All right. Okay. Anyway, we'll debate.
So not only did LeBron's jersey tear down the middle opening night, Draymond Green's jersey ripped in a fight with Bradley Beal.
That's a fight.
Ben Simmons' jersey, completely
Was it like
tore
completely
apart.
torn off like the
Yeah,
left
like
side?
it came off. It
Yeah.
completely
It was more like an
tore
apron,
apart.
wasn't it, or something like after.
And
all
that
said
wasn't
done?
even a fight. It was just going for a rebound, and
Right.
another player just grabbed his jersey, and it just like shredded
Now,
apart.
did he get the foul shots?
No, they didn't even call
Because there's
anything.
evidence that he was ripped. His jersey was ripped.
They didn't call anything.
come on.
That was Ben Simmons. He immediately went to the ref, and he was just like,
Bro.
Are we confused?
Kevin Love ripped his jersey just by pulling it over his head and putting it on.
That's great.
So
Kevin Love move right there too. That's such a Kevin Love move.
it's true. So not only are they ripping to shreds, they look like high school jerseys. They don't look nice like the old Adidas jerseys. And I hate the logos now, the advertisements on the jerseys. Not just now the new companies that are sponsoring different teams' jerseys, but also the Nike swoosh on the same spot on every single jersey. I want the classic jersey like the Celtics, or the Lakers. Like, those are just classic jerseys. I want them pure. I want them fresh. I know newer franchises like the Magic. It doesn't really matter.
Were the tear-away jerseys created so that less players got hurt while going up for a ball? They weren't getting pulled down or something?
I'm sure Nike's
I
used
think
that excuse already.
They're talking about having a
They're
lighter weight
rip
material.
Rip away, so no one
Well,
gets
you
hurt.
mentioned, Bryce, that they look like they're high school jerseys. Well, that's what you get when you have child labor making your NBA jerseys. You get jerseys that look like crap.
And you basically have high school players playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
So, the one and dones, and we've had that discussion many times before. We're going to stick with basketball on a local level. St. Michael's College basketball team, Bryce brought this to attention yesterday, it was an exhibition game with
Against UVM.
There were 5 players that kneeled in protest during the national anthem. So, Bryce will have
just players that kneeled in solidarity with the NFL protests against racial inequality, police brutality. The protests have been around for a while, and kind of the finer points of the protests, I think everybody's sort of beat to death, right? So we're not going to get into that, but I think the one thing I want to say is just I'm really disappointed in the UVM fans who yelled at the players and kind of chastised them and harassed them from the stands for respectfully protesting. And whether you agree with the protest or not,
Isn't not agreeing you're also right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's a double-edged sword, honestly.
For sure. I mean, First Amendment right works both ways.
Right.
But what watching the video, I think there's a stark contrast between fans yelling at the players and the players being not responding to the fans at all, being completely respectful for how they are choosing to protest. And I think there's just a stark image there. And I think especially in this area, Vermont is a very white state. Anyway, Franklin County in itself is something like 94% white. I don't have the exact statistic. I know for sure it's over 90% white. I just think that a lot of times in really white areas, we don't totally understand the experiences of other communities like the black community. And so I think it's vitally important for us to not immediately jump to anger or chastising, but take the moment to pause and ask questions and try to understand the other perspective, because that's a lot more productive than just division and yelling and anger. So I think that's just kind of, now we've talked about kneeling a lot with the NFL. Now it's kind of on a local level.
And I'll bring it up again. I honestly think it's more ignorance on the people that are booing that don't realize why we're not that these players
protesting the anthem,
are not protesting the
protesting
anthem,
the
they're not
military.
protesting the military. They're protesting racial inequality and yes, they're bringing attention to the American flag, and I understand that, and that's what a lot of people are more upset about. But I've said on multiple occasions, there's got to be a different way to be able to express your protest, where you're not making, the veterans that maybe don't see that, you're not making them mad, you're not making them upset, because they are giving up the ultimate sacrifice for us. And if that's how they feel, then there needs to be a change on how we protest, in my personal opinion.
The one thing that you will see out of UVM is, or at least in this area, there are a lot of military vets in this area.
For sure.
And those in the military are, I would probably say, are 50-50, either for or against the way this protest has gone. And the thing for me is it's ignorance upon where we are. This is New England, man. We are white country. We don't
Northern
see,
New England. Southern New England is a lot more diverse.
But you still don't see the issues that there are in the other places, or at least not nearly the same extent.
You can say in the South, things like that. That's seriously where it's happening.
When I look at New England as a whole, every college game I've gone to, a lot of the high school games that I've gone to, people in this general area are relatively extremely rude. I mean, really bad at games, yelling at refs, yelling at players, parents yelling at their own kids. I mean, it's a very interesting dynamic out here that I have never seen growing up playing sports. And it is sad that people can't just kind of get past that. And there is so much hatred created solely because they're ignorant to other people's ideals, other people's beliefs, and or ignorant to the simple fact that
not everybody
this is a
has
real
the same
problem.
way of life, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think Paul, to your point, which, can I just say, I really appreciate that we're having a reasonable, level-headed conversation about this, because most of the conversations I've heard about this have just been super reactionary, super angry, and just not productive at all. So I really appreciate the way we're going about this right now. But I think the point of protest is to be disruptive, because I think if there's a convenient protest, it's ineffective because
there's no such
it doesn't
thing.
change anything.
If a protest does not make you feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
then the protest is not accomplishing what it sets out to do. And you look at the civil rights movement as a whole. You look at, the bus route, everything that Martin Luther King did and all those things that happened.
Which he was not popular at the time.
It wasn't popular. It wasn't something that people were 50-50 on, because we came from a place where, as a country, we have a history of treating anybody who is not white terribly. Our country was founded on the fact that we kicked a bunch of Indians out of
Native
Americans, whatever the politically correct term is.
Native Americans.
And I think, I watched the video, I read some of the articles, and I was just I guess I was a little disappointed in some of the fans. I understand why they have the First Amendment right, but it did seem rude. And JT makes a great point on that. We've covered a lot of sports up here. I've seen a lot of sports between, all around the state. And Vermont has some pretty rude people when it comes to these types of things, where I have turned around at some events and say, hey, it's just a high school basketball game. Like, nobody here is going to the NBA. And I was just kind of disappointed because, I think the St. Mike's kids did a really good job of being peaceful, not disrupting the game. They just did it before the game.
Honestly, what I would have done, and when I watched the video the first time, I said they did this kind of all wrong. What they should have done is they should have kneeled once the anthem started, because if those people that are in the stands are as patriotic as they think they are, they keep their mouth shut during the national anthem, and they would only boo afterwards, which again, it wouldn't be as big of a deal.
Yeah. Also, I've seen some people talking about how, oh yeah, you're here to play the game and it's an exhibition game and you got blown out by 30. These are still college athletes who've had to work really hard.
And the one thing you have to also keep in mind is that it's not just the athletes. This was a school movement.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of
students
all
over the campus
at St. Michael's College. So it's more of a trickle-down effect of everyone involved, not just these 5 athletes. So again, a little bit of local protest that we've seen on TV on Sundays, and
now it's in our backyard.
And now it's in our backyard. It really is. We're going to go to football for a little bit here. Looking at who's been hurt over the year, the amount of young talent that's coming into the NFL and putting on a big stage. I almost thought, are we in that spot right now where we're kind of saying, out with the old, in with the new when it comes to the NFL quarterback? Because I feel like there are a bunch of teams right now, several teams, that could really use, I guess, a 2.0, a refresher in that position. And some of the names I put in there was Eli Manning, who's been talked about nonstop this entire week. Like, okay, is it time for him to go?
Also time for the coach to go.
Flacco is, Flacco. Him coming.
The one thing with Flacco is
coming off injury.
He's been on that list since year one.
Well, since he won a Super Bowl, he's been after getting all that money, and it's like, okay, you haven't reached that, quote unquote elite status that
Joe Flacco had 3 good games.
You have Carson Palmer that is still in the league, and when healthy, is still producing pretty well. Big Ben, who's been said for the last couple of years that he might be on his way out the door. Alex Smith, and I say Alex Smith, as well as he's doing right now, that Kansas City fan base is really excited about Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, he knows.
Right.
Alex Smith knows he is done after this year.
And I've said for a couple of years with Drew Brees that it's almost time for him to go as well, because I think that whole regime is ready to go. And you can even add Brady into that, because I like many of my friends back home, we were excited about the Garoppolo era after Brady.
You're forgetting Rivers too.
And Phil, I had Phil Rivers on there too as well, because he came in there. I'm saying is it time for that class of quarterback? And you look at that class of quarterback, 2, 1, 3. You look at 6 Super Bowls. You put Brady in there. You got another, you up to 11, I guess. But I'm saying, is it time to let's move on from the old quarterback that we've grown accustomed to loving and drafting many times in fantasy football, to say, okay, now it's time to go with your Carson Wentz and your Jared Goffs and your Deshaun Watsons and your Garoppolos. I mean, is it time to move? And I don't even know who the backups are in some places like the Giants and the Jets and stuff like that. So
I would like to point out that you say the Saints. The Saints are 6-2 right now. They are quietly one of the better teams.
Right, but Drew Brees has also been in the league since 2001. This is what I'm trying to get at, Dustin. Is that we're talking 18 years for a quarterback that no one said he would last past his first couple of years.
I think we're getting to a point where I'll let you go, but I think we're getting to a point where we are seeing that. But some of those still have
first after me.
I think some of those guys still have 2 or 3 years left. Bryce, go.
Right, and I'm not saying that but 2 years isn't that long, Dustin. 2 years.
22 games. That's still a lot of time.
If they make it that long.
Go ahead, Bryce.
This is just going to be
first
a joke,
after you.
so it's I just think, is it time to let the old guard like Jameis Winston go and bring in the new blood like Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Yeah,
You gotta reverse it a little
just
bit.
like that.
It's a time.
Tampa Bay playing the
Ryan
Jets.
Excited about the Ryan
curse.
Fitzpatrick era.
When I look at the elite quarterbacks that we've had over the last decade, or 2 decades really, and we look at players like Drew Brees, he needs a change of scenery to kind of finish his career and have one more chance of getting another ring. And I see that happening next year. You've got people like Alex Smith who knows he is done after this year. He is going to be traded. He's going to go
I
to
think
a
so
different
too.
team.
I think it's
Okay, so when you say done, you mean traded, not like retired.
Done with his team.
Okay.
done with
Done
the
with
Kansas
his
City
team.
Okay,
Chiefs.
I want to clarify.
You are going to
that.
see a lot of change of these quarterbacks' scenery, and then that's going to change how long they stay in the game.
Yep.
You've got a player like Big Ben, who, if he does not make the Super Bowl this year, I wouldn't be surprised to see him walk off the field.
Either way,
he has
honestly,
had a very
either way, I
either
see
way.
that.
Yeah.
If he wins the Super Bowl or if he loses the Super Bowl, I could see him not coming back.
He's
next
very
year.
frustrated with gameplay. You've got Phillip Rivers, who he's kind of been riding this like, I'm good, I'm not that good.
Honestly,
Yeah, I'm not that
I
good.
think Rivers is more of a victim of circumstance
Yeah,
where you had to
absolutely.
play Tom Brady and Eli and Peyton Manning
Yeah.
for 10 years. What
While
were you
also
supposed to
playing for
do?
the Chargers, which has been known as an inept
Well,
organization.
you had LaDainian Tomlinson for. a
I
good
mean,
portion
they,
of that
they,
game.
they had a window that where they were.
And the thing that I
Scary.
really look at, for the NFL, which is so hard to say because the game's been going on for so long, and you kind of see things change from decade to decade. We have been spoiled with quarterback play over the last 20 years.
You
Spoiled.
really do, because if you look
The
back,
golden
when,
age of
like,
the quarterback.
Well, when even my dad talks about like quarterbacks in the 80s and 90s, he's only saying like about what 5 or 6 guys. We're talking about just the last 10 years, and the names that I've thrown out there. These are amazing. Like these are world class quarterbacks.
Yeah. And you're looking at players that have come in. You've got Carson Wentz. You've got Dak Prescott.
I forgot about
Potentially
him.
Jimmy G. I'm going to say potentially because we haven't seen
you
him
have
out there.
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun
Jared Goff, I'm
Watson.
still excited to watch.
I am too.
Goff is so much fun.
But outside of that, what do you got? I mean, you are left with really thin picking. So the question
Blake
is,
Bortles.
does the
But in that-
NFL
Doing okay this year.
But in that group, you also have to think of like who are your veterans in your young quarterbacks. It's still your people don't like to think about it, but I'm going to forget his name now, for Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton. He is like the veteran of the rookie quarterbacks right now.
Yep.
So
Without doubt.
kind of keep that as like a time frame, if you will, for those types of people. That's kind of what I'm trying to get
But
at.
so
the
doing
one-
Cam Newton and younger as our newer quarterbacks, and then older.
So
than
you're
Cam
looking
Newton.
at
I would
Cam
think so,
Newton,
because you're only
Jameis
talking like
Winston.
what 4 or 5 years for
Yeah.
Cam Newton.
But in that same category, let's look at you. So you've got Jameis Winston, you've got Cam Newton. Who else would be Blake
Dalton.
Bortles, Andy Dalton,
Kirk Cousins is only a
Kirk
few years
Cousins.
removed from college.
So out of those 5,
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr. All right.
Just don't. Yeah, those like
so
I said, those are the kind of names I'm throwing
out of those 6, I'm only taking 2 of those. I'm going to take Kirk Cousins. I'm going to take Derek Carr. Cam Newton throws high. He's inaccurate all over the place.
I think you're stretching a little bit. I think your
think
hatred
you
for Cam
hate
Newton might be
Cam
coming in
Newton.
a little bit more.
No.
Okay.
Jameis Winston.
That's fine.
that
Jameis
guy out of
Winston's
there.
been hit or miss. He's got all the weapons this year, minus he hasn't been healthy.
He's super
Andy
Winston's
Dalton's
sure.
been
Bad.
talk about he's on his way out. 'Cause Cincinnati's done with him. So my point is, I feel like we are really going to start seeing that switch from being the quarterback league and or having your 4 or 5 teams with elite quarterback play and then everyone else with like 10 running backs just trying to pound the ball like ridiculous.
I wouldn't mind seeing a change of how the NFL is right now. As much as I love I think the only reason I love the high-flying offense is because I'm so involved in fantasy football. I feel like if I wasn't, I would kind of venture back to that ground and pound type of style of game. So, I mean, but that's just me. I want to get into midseason awards as well, just real quickly. We're halfway there. We're past the halfway point of the season. The standings look nothing like what I think we expected them to at the beginning of the year. I'm not sure what you were saying either. Was it Google?
It was Siri.
Oh, Siri. Thanks, Siri. Siri, who should win offensive mid-season award of the NFL right now?
MVP goes to Wentz.
Okay. So you're going right to MVP. So MVP, you're going right. I kind of have to agree with you only because we've said on the show, if the person is putting up crazy stats, I have said this. If put crazy stats and it's helping his team win, I'm okay with considering him an MVP.
Yeah.
Is he the flashiest player?
No.
No. But is that team 8-1 and he's 8-1 and he's leading the league in touchdowns and almost passing yards as well?
Yeah.
And he has like a limited amount of interceptions,
5
right?
picks. He's thrown for 60%
With 23 and 5,
completion, and he's 104 passer
That's
rating.
right. Yeah, I would agree with you that that would be
And
your
you look
MVP.
at him, and like a lot of like the picks, he threw a pick last week on a basic punt, more or less. I mean, and that's really been where his picks have been. He hasn't really thrown bad passes. He's thrown a couple of them, but it's been fairly decent. He's 200 yards difference between him and Brady, who's leading the league in passing.
I think you have to put in, just on sheer touchdown and interception ratio, you have to throw Alex Smith into that conversation as well.
thrown
Because
one.
what he's doing right now for Kansas City is something that everyone said Alex Smith might not even make it past the rest of the season because Mahone is like itching to get in there type of thing.
But the one thing is you look at Carson Wentz, who's thrown 23 touchdowns,
23 and
5 picks. You've got Alex Smith, who's thrown 15 touchdowns, 1 pick. It's a pretty big gap in touchdowns from Carson Wentz to the next.
Alex Smith.
Is it 18?
18. I have him pulled up right here. 18.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't count the ones from last game. That's fine.
And he'll have another week on top of that with the Eagles on a bye this week.
Yep. So
Just kidding. They're both on a bye this week.
it's interesting.
JK.
Okay. Pull that
And
one back.
I don't know who else you could look at for MVP right now. I really don't.
So I pulled up Drew Brees' stats just for the heck of it. I think he needs to throw some more touchdowns, but you can put him in the conversation a little bit.
Is he the one that's helping that team win, though?
Oh, I think without Drew Brees, yeah, that team.
Yeah,
is,
like that team
honestly,
is 6-2.
Yeah, they're not 6-2 with Drew Brees.
Yes,
and honestly,
fixed it.
they barely lost to the Patriots. So think about it. This team is what was it? Was it the Cooks play against New Orleans that they made? Or was that against Houston?
I think it
can't
was
remember which one. I mean, it came
Houston
down
was
to like that
Cooks.
end of the game.
Houston was Cooks. Yeah.
It came to the end of the game type of play. I mean, they're a couple plays away from being 7-1 on the season. That's somewhere the Saints. No one expected the Saints.
No,
to
and
be.
that's why I kind of think if we're talking about most valuable player, Drew Brees has a very good stat line right now. Not as impressive as Carson Wentz or Alex Smith, but as the season equals out a little bit, it's going to be interesting to see if he starts to creep into that MVP conversation just because of how good the Saints have been this year and how surprising, I don't think anybody sitting here would have had the Saints at 6-2, 9 weeks into the NFL season. So,
and as good as like Brady's passing yards are, I don't even put him in the conversation because if he didn't play this year, because we always say, oh, what if he didn't play this year? Garoppolo would be playing this year, and I still think the Patriots would be somewhat in contention. So.
And I think Wentz is the clear favorite right now. I think Wentz with the Eagles and the 7-1, he's definitely the clear favorite. If I had to give you 3 MVP candidates, it would be Wentz, Smith, Brees as of right now.
And just to counter your point, though, with Tom Brady, that I think there were multiple games with the Patriots that basically was just Tom Brady keeping them in it.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think he can be in the conversation. He's not my pick for MVP, but I think he has to be in the
Yeah,
conversation.
I think there's a clear difference between team MVP and league MVP. And right now, Wentz, as not as flashy as he is, it's definitely
It'd
fun
definitely
to
be the
watch him
biggest
play,
drop off
so.
if he was not. If
Well,
Wentz was not.
what makes
playing.
Wentz flashy isn't his throw. It's where he's been able to escape. You try to tackle this man,
Right.
and you can't.
Yeah, and that's where you're
near
going to be
him.
fun. Now, if this man is still healthy, my MVP offensive right now would be going to Deshaun Watson because that was a player. Every single week, I'm going, I can't wait for Red Zone. Am I going to be home for Red Zone? Because I need to watch this guy run around. I need to watch what this kid can do.
Deshaun Watson was getting the Texans to the point where I would just go up and make a sandwich, and we scored another touchdown.
Why are you making sandwiches while they're playing?
Because I thought we were on
Do that during the commercial.
Thought we were on
He's hungry,
commercial
Paul.
break
He's
because
hungry.
the Texans have scored so fast at some points where I would get up, and by the time I got back from the commercial break, it was like, oh, we scored already?
And
Okay.
real quick, we'll go to Rookie of the Year.
I
wanna get into
have a
basketball, too.
slash. I have Deshaun and I have Hunt.
Yeah,
I want. Deshaun almost earns it, even though he can't play the rest of the season.
I think that's what
he
we said.
Almost earns
and
it.
I honestly think that's what we said about J.J. Watt, where he'll win the Walter Payton Award, and he hasn't played it all this year because of what he was able to do for hurricane relief.
I
So
think
it's like,
Deshaun Watson
even though he's not on the field, man, it was those 7 weeks were so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely agree with the fact that I think Deshaun Watson just gets some type of recognition because he turned that team. You see how that team is without him. Like, they can't score an offensive touchdown without him.
Hey,
They
Savage
did.
threw.
They did. He did.
Savage
He threw one.
So I actually do have
And
breaking,
they almost won that game.
I
They
have
tied it up
breaking
or something
news.
like that.
T.J. Yates is now taking first-team reps for the Texans, the famous Bengal killer who won us a playoff game, mind you. So the legend is back.
Ooh.
My team's going to
Jumping
go
for
3
joy.
and 13. My team's going 3 and 13.
Defense
which,
is. I've got Calais Campbell.
Okay.
The Jags player. I mean, he's just been unstoppable on that front line
For me, just
Jags.
to kind of speed up, can I give it to the whole defensive team for the Rams? Because
The
there hasn't
Rams.
been a more fun team on defense to watch. They just seem to be on every single play and on
Wade
everyone's
Phillips
case.
And it's
is
not
a
one name.
genius
It's not
defender.
one
It's not one
It's
name on
just
that team.
boom.
Exactly.
And I think I said this a while back when Wade Phillips left Denver because he went to Houston, turned that into a number 1 defense. He went to Denver, turned that into a number 1 defense. Where is he now? Los Angeles. What is Los Angeles going to be next year or this year even?
This year.
A number 1 defense. Wade Phillips is a defensive.
And it's not like his division isn't like it doesn't have talent in it. You have Seattle in that division as well, and you have a Cardinals team that apparently doesn't want to quit regardless of who's behind center. So it's not like there's no talent. There's no talent in that division. Like they're actually
LA Rams
competing.
get no credit for anything, and I think the reason for that is because anyone who plays fantasy football, which is pretty much 90% of any NFL fan, you can't have any player on the Rams
except for the Rams
Gurley.
defense.
Gurley and
with that.
defense, and that's it. Goff is kind of all over
He
the
is.
place. He had a great game last week. You can't pick a single one of the receivers because you never know who's going to get the ball.
I mean, you look at last week, Watkins had 20-something points or 16, 17 points.
Yeah.
It was one play.
Yeah.
It was one pass for
67
50,
yards.
60-something
67
yards
yards.
for a touchdown. It was one play. That was it.
I'd like to give my defensive player of the year to Stephon Gilmore's concussion.
Yeah, whoever's keeping him off the
Whoever's
field.
staying him off the field, you the real MVP.
Thank you very much. Let's go into basketball. Bryce's weekly exclusive to Northwest Access TV power rankings for the NBA, and I'm interested to hear what you say. JT is too. He's been foaming at the mouth for about 2 weeks now.
I'm just gonna get this out of the way.
You first after
For
me.
everybody.
You're first after me.
You're wrong. I'm sitting out the rest. of
Okay,
this.
here we
Cool.
go.
We'll see you guys later.
Okay, starting at the top, number
my
one.
100% amateur hour, completely subjective. Number 1, the Celtics.
Okay.
I think they're playing super well right now. I mean, 10 wins in a row. How do you not put that number 1? Number 2, Golden State. They're turning it around from kind of a slow start this season.
Really? Shocking.
Won 4 games this week, all 4. Number 3, Houston, with an 8-3 record. Number 4, San Antonio, kind of recovering a bit from their slip. The only game they lost this week was against Golden State, which is understandable.
And they're still without Kawhi Leonard.
And they're
They
still
didn't
without
play
Kawhi
anybody
Leonard.
in that Golden State game. I thought they just rested everybody.
Number 5 is Detroit, surprisingly playing super well right now. Number 6, Minnesota.
Your mhms are very relaxed.
We're not too far off right now.
Okay. Oh.
I have number 7, Toronto.
Okay.
Now we're back.
Oh, here we go.
Number 8, Memphis.
Love me some grit.
Number 9, I had to think long and hard about this one because they haven't been playing well, but they had 2 good wins against 2 good teams this week. Cleveland against Washington and Milwaukee.
No. Number
We're still
10.
going to end up at number 10, Washington.
And then just for good measure.
Orlando's number 11.
Thank you. Okay.
Charlotte's number 12.
I don't argue that too much, except
Yeah.
for Toronto.
It's all those later kind of teams that you're just not totally sure
I think
about them
Toronto's
yet.
really doesn't have a whole lot going for them. I do have Boston third and Golden State and Houston above them, solely because of the
It's like
simple
you read
fact of
ESPN's power rankings or something like that.
solely because of the simple fact of Boston can't score to counterbalance a Houston or Golden State team. They just can't score the points, and that just is what it is. I do like San Antonio. I like them high solely because they are playing without their best player and they're still getting it done.
Yeah.
I love Memphis, and I move Memphis up.
Yeah, I mean, I think them and Detroit right now have sort of been the 2 surprises of the year so far. Memphis, I mean, we all thought they were going to go into tank mode. They're probably going to trade
without a
Gasol. And they're just
And they
playing
still might.
so well.
They still might.
It's still early, but they've started so
Detroit,
well.
I'm curious to see if they can truly hold on to it.
Yeah.
Cleveland does have the 2 really good wins, but they look so
They do.
bad.
They do.
Giannis destroyed LeBron. Destroyed him.
So
Made him look like a rookie.
But Milwaukee
Fantastic.
is also playing pretty badly right now.
But also, you don't mention
Except for Giannis.
So you don't
Except for
mention,
Giannis.
But they've gotten better. We talked about that as well. Right?
Milwaukee?
No?
They've slipped. They started.
No, I thought didn't you just say they got Bledsoe?
Yeah, but
just
he hasn't
got-
played yet.
They're
He
getting
hasn't
better.
played
I'm saying
yet.
they will
They're
get
getting better.
They will get better.
I'm sorry. I should rephrase that. They're
Absolute-
improving their roster.
Yes, for
Absolutely
sure.
Jabari
no
Parker late
love
February.
for the 6-4 Portland Trailblazers, but you think the 4-6 Cleveland Cavaliers, who had 2 lucky wins because LeBron had to go off because besides
go
LeBron,
off.
that team sucks.
How do the
True.
Trailblazers win a game? There's only one way.
Damian Lillard, but
Damian Lillard scores 50 points.
I guess.
So let's move on.
I want to just say, putting a team below 500 in the top 10 of your power rankings, I don't agree with it. Like, there are a bunch of teams that are above 500. Like,
I think the
Trailblazers
only
6
reason you can
4.
do that, though, Dustin, is because it's
Cleveland.
No, it's not Cleveland. It's LeBron.
LeBron.
It's arguably the best player in the world. If he's on that team should be. It's given kind of that not a handicap, but they're given a little extra points here. It's like, well,
so-
you do have LeBron James though, so you're still up in
Portland
conversation.
this week, the 2 teams that they beat this week are the Lakers and the Thunder, which the Thunder not playing well at all. I mean, they're not like super impressive
No.
wins.
I
And
have-
they lost to Memphis, which is a legit team.
And at the end of the day, if you cancel out power rankings and you just look at, all right, so if the season ended today, who's making the playoffs? It's a bunch of teams that have no right to be in there. So
Yeah.
let's be very clear that just because you won a little bit right now,
I mean,
doesn't
for example,
make you a good
Orlando
team.
So I
is
have
7-4.
I have a loaded
They're not in
NBA
the
question.
yeah.
If we get to the trade
Loaded.
deadline and the Cleveland Cavaliers are nowhere close to the playoffs, or
That's not going to happen.
Dare
But-
you?
but
How
let me- can
dare
I
you,
finish?
Dustin? I said
Can I
this
finish?
last week. I said this last week. Don't you even start.
but-
Don't even start. I said this last week that LeBron wouldn't finish this season on the
I know,
Cavaliers.
There are
but-
8 teams in the NBA East that are going to outbeat Cleveland.
But
that
I'm just
would
saying,
be
if
the
you,
day.
if you get there and LeBron has made it clear that he's not willing to sign an extension, do you ship him off?
No. Because no owner, no team has the cojones to go, all right, fans, we're shipping them.
And by then, Isaiah Thomas is going to be back, and you got to give that a chance.
Isaiah Thomas is not going to be
Like
back.
I said,
He's already practicing.
Loaded NBA question. I'm not taking a stance. I'm just putting it out there for the
Cleveland's
table to
not shipping
discuss.
out LeBron.
No, I said
Any
that was like a huge hot take I had.
LeBron
last
will
week.
leave Cleveland.
You're,
No
you're
owner- no
repurposing.
owner
I
can
think
do
I've
that.
recycling my hot
I think I've
takes.
come around on your hot take, actually, now that I've thought about it.
Now,
Now, I did say this would be extremely smart. It would be extremely smart of Cleveland
first
to do
after me.
this.
It
Cleveland
would.
But it's not going to happen.
No.
But it's extremely smart for them to do it because they're going to get a boatload of things back in place of LeBron.
and they're gonna end up shipping him to a team that LeBron doesn't totally want to go to.
I think it would be a place that he would want
Because
to
you have
go
to give up too much
Yeah.
to get him, and he wants to go to a team that can just sign him and keep everybody. Actually, LeBron has a no trade clause, so they couldn't do it anyway.
Unless he
we
goes
talked
somewhere
about-
he wants to go that's going to
But
win
again,
now.
he doesn't
that's
want
going
to.
to win now.
He's not going to go to a team that can win today.
Spot on the Celtics for him. I don't take him.
Anyway,
They got
we
draft
still-
picks.
I still have secret hopes that
That it happens?
Anthony Davis will get sick of being in New Orleans and
go to the
Ainge will slip on in
He's
there.
I wanna
signing an
see that.
extension, though.
I'm not sure.
We talked
these
about Oklahoma
chairs.
City for a second.
Yeah.
And we all are curious to see what that team can truly do when it comes down to it. They're not playing well. Their chemistry is bad. But I want to talk about Carmelo's ejection the other night, which had
such a
me
dumb ejection.
throwing things at my TV going,
so bad.
hell. And for me, like, I'm not an OKC fan. I like Carmelo, but it's not like he's my favorite player. And I'm going, why are you doing this? I was like, that is the most basketball play I've ever seen in my life. What are you ejecting him for?
The refs just used no common sense in that. Now, their call, according to the rule book, was
It was a fumble.
technically correct.
The Jets didn't score.
Talk
But-
roll.
Common sense.
No, it is not technically correct because the defender was coming into him in the restricted area. You're not allowed to do that in the restricted area. He double pumped to go up for a layup. The guy ran into his face. He didn't plant him with an elbow. He ran into his
it
elbow
was
in the restricted
ridiculous.
area. Are you kidding me?
It was ridiculous. And now Carmelo and Billy Donovan have both been fined for the NBA for criticizing that play. And it's just like, look, if if you don't want criticism, don't make stupid calls like that.
That is the dumbest ejection I've ever
Yeah,
seen in my life.
it was
And
terrible.
it's right there in that same spot of Austin Swearingen-Jenkins, fumble, no touchdown, other team ball.
I'm proud of you for remembering his name. You guys left it up to me again this week to do your NBA upcoming games. These are the ones that I chose. The Bucks at the Spurs on Friday night.
Taking the Spurs.
Bucks,
are
I'll take the
reeling.
Bucks.
I'm going to be curious to see how the team can develop with Bledsoe
So soon.
quickly. Because Bledsoe can really change the dynamic, what they need to do for that team, because they have all the length in the world. They need speed, and they need somebody to control. And I'm curious to see if
basketball-
Bledsoe
Bledsoe is
can do
also
it.
ball dominant, though, so I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him and Giannis to kind of figure out how
I
to
will
work
ask you,
together.
though, is basketball one of those sports where you can have, you can kind of fit someone in almost immediately? I feel like, and I guess baseball is kind of the similar thing, but
I
like with
think you
football,
can.
you can't just put a player on a new football team and say, okay, go, because there's
You
just
have
so
a better
many players
chance
to-
if you're just adding one player. I think the other example is the Thunder, where they're adding 2 All-Stars to a team, and they're having trouble kind of figuring it out. I think with just adding Bledsoe, I think Milwaukee will figure it out a lot faster.
And it really depends on the type of player. Eric Bledsoe is not superstardom. He is not your LeBron James, your Steph Curry, your Kevin Durant, or Carmelo, or
But he's a
Paul
great
George.
He's
secondary
a really
character.
good point
Great
guard.
role
You
player.
don't need
not a
a role
superstar.
player on that team. You have one already.
No, exactly. But my point to that is you're not putting a superstar into that team. You're adding a role player into that
Yeah.
team and trying to create chemistry with a role player.
He's more of a
is
role.
easy.
He's more
Or
than a role
easier.
player.
And
He's
keep-
not a superstar. But he is more than a role player.
And keep in mind who his coach is. You know, one of the better point guards of the last generation.
Well, it's a point guard coach.
Like
Key
that.
point there.
That's the thing. Is like
Key point
I think
guard there.
Bledsoe is going to definitely be able
right.
to come in
Hashtag
and
dad
get it
jokes.
faster, just because because he can make it easier for him to just come in and start running the offense and get him his touches and get Giannis his touches as well. My interesting thing with the Bucks will be what happens when Parker comes back, because they're going to be a lot of
Well,
fun.
will that happen by tomorrow?
I don't think it'll happen.
Giannis and
tomorrow.
Parker together.
That's what I want to get. It's
are
upcoming.
going
Remember,
to
it's
be
upcoming
really
games.
serious.
Grizzlies at Rockets on Saturday.
Rockets.
Rockets.
Again, you guys left it up to me. And then the Raptors at Celtics on Sunday.
Celtics.
Yeah.
You say Celtics. You say
Well,
now you say
Horford's
Celtics.
out.
Now Jason Tatum.
Let's see how long Horford is out.
And
Concussion.
Jason
like 2
Tatum
days.
was seen leave. He left. He came out of the game early last night. He was seen leaving the locker room to the team with the team with a boot on his ankle on his foot. So you could be without him as well for a couple games. So
talking
you don't
about?
really know. Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum. Yeah.
I'm still not worried there. I don't like Toronto. I don't like their I
know
don't
who I
like
like?
the way they play. I don't like their game flow.
You know who I'm really starting to like? And I like this is one of those players. Like I'm actually really excited to see him play every time he comes in from the bench. Baines.
He is amusing to watch.
Yeah.
He's just this
good.
big, red-bearded
Australian.
but he looks like he fits on the Celtics so well.
I know.
So it's like, oh,
Almost
we
need
finally
him, and
got.
who's the announcer now?
It's Brian Scalabrine.
We need him
you
and
have,
Scalabrine on the
For
same
you
team.
have like
Red
you
Mamba.
have like that next coming of a Brian Scalabrine, a lookalike for someone that fits well on the Celtics.
And
I'm
yet
just
gets
excited to
way
see
more
him.
playing time.
A lot more playing time. And
will
well
say-
deserved. But again, this team is rebounding.
Yep.
It's funny. I'm watching the game last night. I'm going, wow, this team is shooting a ton of threes. They shot not a majority of them were not going in, clearly. But the difference from this year to last year is I'm just seeing more rebounds,
Yeah.
more offensive rebounds. So I'm actually okay. I'm almost
the
okay.
one thing that we argued the most about
Yeah.
Boston last year was
Right.
they
Couldn't
can't rebound.
rebound
the ball, and you win. You got this awesome center who's not a center.
Right.
So
And now that Morris is back, actually it adds a little more rebounding, a little more.
without a doubt, defensive
defense
spunk.
for sure.
Yeah. So again, Celtics a good team.
And-
Fun
and
team to watch.
Baines
Even
is-
without Horford, might be out for a little bit for concussion. But I'm more interested. To
I
see
think
what happens
Tatum
with
is
Tatum.
gonna be the
That's but he's averaging 15 points a game, something like that. 15, 20 points a game. Okay, so
But Baines is really put
it's fun.
together.
It's a lot of fun to watch. He had a season high 18 or 19 points last night for the Celtics. Let's go over to home field advantage before we get to our NFL picks for the end of the show. I'll start it off. I want to give a little shout out to MVU running back, cornerback, quarterback,
Every
safety,
back.
kick returner, Hunter Tardy. He's the only selection from MVU that's going to be playing in the North-South Senior Bowl. And a lot of people were telling me the different stats of other running backs in Division One, and I think Hunter Tardy would have fit very well into those Division One players. He had 1285, so 12, almost 1,300 rushing yards, but over 2,000 all-purpose yards with 16 touchdowns. 12 of those came from rushing, 2 kick returns, which you saw here on Northwest Access Television, and
Nice
1
plug.
receiving and 1 passing in their final regular season game against BFA Fairfax.
That's a nice stat line right there.
That's a great stat line for a player that was on a Division III football team that, again,
Is
I
no good.
think would excel very well at the Division I, Division II, to Division II level.
Yes.
So that's my home field advantage, rather.
I'll go next. Shout out to the Milton girls soccer team for winning their 3rd straight D2 championship. They took Rice
Super impressive.
to.
That's awesome.
It's pretty hard. They took Rice to penalty kicks.
That's even better.
It was a 0-0 game, I believe, and it was and they, like both teams had like a bunch of chances, and they played all the overtimes, and they got to the penalty kicks. They got to the 2nd round of penalty kicks. That's how long this game took for them to win. So
That's a lot of not scoring.
It was a lot of non-scoring, but hey, 3rd straight championship in a row.
Hey,
that's
impressive.
really
That is
hard to
impressive.
accomplish anywhere.
Yeah.
Bryce, over to you.
Real quick, UVM men's basketball kicks off their season this Sunday.
Tips off. They tip off.
Tips off.
Yeah, they don't
Did I
kick
say
in basketball.
Kick off? Oh, yeah. What's basketball?
Tip off.
Tips
You
off.
say you're not an NFL or a
And a
football,
fan, and he just throws it out there. Willy-nilly. Go ahead.
It's kinda
Starts
my
off their
safety.
season.
Tips off their season this Sunday at Kentucky. Game's going to be on the Watch ESPN app, and I think
Could
on
they win?
ESPNU. Nope.
No.
Come on.
A few years ago, UVM
Think about it.
played at Duke and lost by 1. They made a basket at the buzzer to win, but let go of it just a little too late.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
So, I mean, we got another really good team. We'll see how it goes. I'm
They're
excited.
going to lose by 50.
And JT,
I need
more time.
BFA basketball to start.
And that is going to start the
December 12th, I
Yeah,
think.
it's a couple weeks into December. We're a little late. It seems a little later this year than it
it
was
does.
last year. But I think a lot of it had to do with Thanksgiving was late last year, so it almost seemed like it was almost right after Thanksgiving. This year, it's a couple weeks afterwards. Let's go to NFL picks with our final time here. Last week, 9-4 for myself, 8-5 for the rest of you guys. You guys are terrible. And on the season, 82-50 for myself, 76-56 for Dustin. Creeping up behind him at 70-62 is JT, and Bryce at 29-12. You have dropped from 75% to 70% on the season.
Man,
So it's getting worse.
I quit.
It's getting worse.
You've tried.
Siv.
We keep telling you no.
Yeah, we said don't do that, and you're like, oh no, I like them. So okay. So this week we'll start it off with Thursday Night Football. Seattle Seahawks at Arizona Cardinals. Palmer on this team might be an interesting game, or do we feel like Seattle's
Stanton, do it.
or is Seattle one of those teams that's like, okay, we're ready to.
I mean, Thursday night
Seattle-
football.
And they did lose to Washington. They did just lose to Washington. So.
Seattle's been playing some awesome football as
They got
of
their
late.
offense back. They figured out how to throw the football. I think the Seattle Seahawks.
And they've
win this
lost
game.
2 in a row,
They're just not the defense they used to be.
right? Oh no, they didn't
They beat
no.
the Texans, lost.
They beat
to
the Texans,
Redskins.
lost to the Redskins. Almost lost to the Texans in a shootout, which was
Should've.
fun to watch
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
Seattle team because I feel like we've never seen a shootout with Seattle.
So that was that's candidate for NFL Game of the Year.
I would agree with that.
Too. But I think the Seahawks win tonight. I just don't think the Cardinals have the offensive ability. I know Adrian Peterson, the grounding and pounding of Adrian Peterson, but on 4 days rest on a short week, I just don't think it's possible. I think the Seahawks win this game. I think it's closer than people think it'll be. I think we're going to have a nice, good old-fashioned, 20-17 NFC West game. But I think the Seahawks win this.
I don't think Stanton's your answer. I think that's where you're going to come, where it's going to kind of fall for
Is
the Arizona
Stanton
Cardinals.
Even their backup quarterback?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
So when you have a
we trade them
team,
Tom Brady.
so when
Yeah,
you
the
have
quarterback
like
roster.
when you have a team like Seattle that on the defensive side is still one of the best out there, I just don't see someone like Stanton being able to come in and be like, as older as he is and veteran status as he is, to be able to come in there and command a defense
I
like
say
that.
he does solely because he's been doing it for years. He has been the backup there, and every time he has came into the Arizona backfield, he has played well. Is he an elite quarterback? No, but he has filled the void well. Seattle's defense is not what it used to be. AP is killing it, tearing it apart. You have so many offensive weapons with the Browns, with Nelson, with Fitzgerald, then with AP in the backfield. I like Arizona in
The
this
pieces
game.
are definitely there for Arizona to win the game.
And they have a great defense and good
But
backs.
I think Thursday night games, I like to side with the defense on those because I think it's harder to get the offense together and ready for
But
strategy
not
on that
this
short
year.
notice.
Not this
I like
year.
the side of the
Defense.
better quarterback on Thursday night football games this year. I think the short rest is gonna. If Stanton, if it was Palmer on Thursday night football, I'd say they have a chance. If this was a Sunday afternoon game, I might pick the Cardinals here. But because of the short rest and how the Cardinals have been doing the ground,
You've
and
made
pound,
your pick. What is yours?
I'm going with Arizona.
Going with
I'm
Arizona.
going Seattle.
Okay, so we got 3 for Seattle and Arizona. JT on an island by himself. New Orleans at Buffalo Bills.
This should be a surprisingly good game.
Well, you have arguably one of the best defenses, I guess, technically, statistically in the game against one of the better offenses in the league. So
And the Buffalo
But it's in
Bills
Buffalo.
now have another
it's in
wide
Buffalo, and it's
receiver.
also 20 degrees. So
I'm going Buffalo, not in a dome. Buffalo now has, they'll be able to put their Kelvin Benjamin out on the sideline.
I agree with you for that. That he's now had a week and a half. It's at home. I think they're going to really symbolize things for him.
Yep.
So I would go with that too. I think the Bills.
I think I take the Bills because they have the rest, because they played Thursday Night Football last week, and because Buffalo weather is Buffalo weather, like you've mentioned. So yeah, I'll take the Bills.
I'm taking the Bills as well. New Orleans defense leaves much to be desired, shall we say. And now with Kelvin Benjamin in, I think.
And the Bills' defense is so fast, they can get to you in a hurry. Drew Brees is a great quarterback, but I don't think he's going to have enough chances.
Green Bay at Chicago.
Does anyone care? I'm going to go with Chicago.
Game's
going
awful.
Chicago.
Why not go with Chicago?
The Bears.
Their defense is fantastic.
They were in a bye last week.
Green
right?
Bay's
Nope, they weren't.
offense is
Yes, they were.
absolutely atrocious
Hardly is
without
awful.
Rodgers in that game.
Could that be an argument for Rodgers for MVP?
Yes, it could be.
Well, I've said that.
Like
I've
Peyton
said that all
Manning
along.
sitting
When Peyton
out
Manning sat out the whole
year
year,
with
and
the
they went
Colts,
0
the suck for
18.
luck.
That Peyton Manning should be your MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I'm taking the Bears as well. I like Trubisky. I think he gets a good win this weekend.
I like that
because
defense against the Packers team that just can't
Yeah.
do anything.
They can't
Picked them
score.
up for
They-
fantasy just for that one thing.
All you need to do if you're the Bears is score, 13 points
Chicago.
this week and you win.
Cleveland at Detroit.
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 It's like the one. It's like the one game I'm okay with saying. All right, we don't need analysis on this one.
Yeah.
Maybe this next one too. Pittsburgh at Indianapolis.
Woof.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Pity.
Yeah, I'm with Martavius Bryant back in the mix this week.
Who gives a
They said he's going to be involved in the offense.
I said that quietly.
No, he didn't.
enough.
Chargers at Jaguars.
Jags.
Oh, Jags.
I'm taking
Jags?
the Chargers in an upset pick this week.
No.
I
Expand.
think so. The Jaguars have been up and down.
Can't say that enough.
I think the Jaguars have been
it
up
again,
and
Paul.
down, up and
Expand.
down, up and down. Did the Chargers?
Enhance.
I think the Chargers
Enhance.
didn't play. No, have they had their bye? I'm not sure. But I think just I'm a
not
little
yet.
impressed with the Chargers. They've kind of gotten hot. They had that loss last week, but I think they can go into Jacksonville and kind of upset the Jaguars. Blake Bortles is doing okay as a quarterback. He's not a top 15 quarter. He's not a good quarterback. They need to replace him, but I think Phillip Rivers can upset some Jaguars this week.
Here's the reason why. Jacksonville's
He hasn't even done that
defense.
to me yet this year.
Jacksonville's defense
Ramsey's
is
out for a game, right?
fantastic. One of the biggest things here is Phillip Rivers gets hit a lot, and you are going against presumably the best defensive line in football.
Ramsey out for this game?
I don't think he's been ruled out yet. But I don't think it makes a difference. You also have Leonard Fournette in the backfield. You don't need.
But on the side, you have Melvin Gordon.
You do. But
And if
does-
I'm
do
weighing
the Char-
them, I'm
do
weighing
the
them, I'm
Chargers
probably
have
going to
a better
take.
defense.
I'm saying if I'm
I
weighing
don't
them,
think so.
I'm taking Melvin Gordon over. I'm taking Leonard Fournette.
Really?
I would, because I think that I think that Melvin Gordon has that secondary dynamic to him where he can go off.
I guess I like the. I don't think the Chargers are. I'm looking at their scores right now because I wanted to get some confirmation on this. They are 3-5, but with the exception of one 14-point loss to the Chiefs, they haven't played like a 3-5 team. I think they've played a lot better.
No, they've
quality.
lost a lot of games by a touchdown, I think.
or
And
a
I
field
think-
goal.
And I think these teams are much equal. I think these teams are closer than we want to think they are, and I think that's why
I think I'm
Philip
just so
Rivers.
enamored with the Blake Bortles train that I'm not ready to get off yet. Like I like the way the ride's going, and I want to continue with that. I know he's not the main reason they're winning, but it's been fun to
I
just
think they might be
stay
winning
on
in
that.
spite of him, actually.
So I'm going to go with the Jags as well. I think Bortles has a good game this week.
Yeah, like I said, this is my upset pick of the week, Chargers.
You
I'm
just
going
got to worry
Jags.
about Bosa.
Going
The
Jags.
only player you got to worry about.
Jets at Tampa Bay.
This is your elite quarterback matchup of the week. We got Josh McClown. We got Ryan Fitzpatrick, two of the best quarterbacks of our time, facing
This
off
would be a
in battle
Fitzpatrick
for the
revenge
ages.
game.
No, when does Fitzpatrick play well? When he comes,
When he
up
comes
off
in
the
the back,
bench.
It's the
It's when
Fitzpatrick
he
turn.
starts.
I'm
is
not
when he's
ready to
bad.
give up on McGowan. I love what he's done
I'm
for
taking
this
the Jets
team.
in this
I
game.
love what he's done for this
I'm
Jets
taking
team.
the Jets because you know what?
He and Robbie Anderson have struck up a good friendship on the field.
I like
I
it
love
too.
how the
Anderson's
Jets
scoring
defense was
3
dancing.
That
touchdowns
Tampa Bay
with that
team, I don't care who
swag.
you put back there right now. I don't think they get any better.
I think Tampa Bay has given up on the season. I think the Jets win.
Jets win. You don't even have Mike Wallace or Williams in the backfield. I mean, who is? You've got Deshaun Jackson for Fitzpatrick to throw to, and that's about it.
Mike Evans is still playing. He wasn't suspended. AJ Green was.
Mike Evans is suspended again.
Mike Evans was
I thought
suspended
AJ
a game.
Green was.
No,
AJ
AJ Green
Green
was
was too.
not.
No, AJ Green wasn't suspended. Evans was, and that's why people were up in arms about it.
We're
Yes.
consummate
Evans had the
professionals
blindside
here.
hit.
I have a feeling
The
it's the other way
blindside,
around.
no, it's not. The blindside hit is what got the ejection. Mike Evans is not on the field, not Williams.
Cincinnati at Tennessee.
Also, I just like that
we have a
McCown
few
won't
minutes.
do.
Cincinnati at Tennessee.
I'm going to go Tennessee. Cincinnati sucks.
Cincinnati's bad. Go Titans.
Yeah, I'm going to go Titans as
We're going
well.
Titans.
Minnesota at Redskins.
This
think-
is going to be interesting.
Minnesota wins, and I think Case Keenum gets benched in the first half for Teddy Bridgewater.
There's no chance he comes back in this game.
No,
He's
I'd be shocked.
practicing right now. He's not full
I
blown.
thought he was activated this week.
He's active off IR.
He's
Right.
active IFR, but he's going to be their backup quarterback this week because they've placed Sam Bradford.
I don't see him coming
I
out.
see it. I see it.
No, I don't. I'm going to go with Minnesota. I think they're all around the
Say
better
Minnesota?
team.
Sorry, Dustin. Do you say Minnesota?
I said Minnesota, yeah.
Okay. Bryce.
Minnesota.
Houston at the Rams.
If you want to watch the Rams put up 50 points and have some fun this weekend, this is the game for you. I'm picking the Rams.
Start Sammy Watkins, start Cup.
I'm taking the Rams.
Okay.
Come on.
Dallas at Atlanta.
Dallas.
Dallas.
I don't like either of these teams.
We'll find out today if Zeke is suspended for
Can I-
good or not.
Can I change my pick after Zeke is suspended or
No,
not?
because
So
we
I
didn't
have-
get to do that last week, and I would have done it last week.
So
as
I have to
well.
lock this one in before.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to lock in Cowboys regardless.
I'm going to take Atlanta. I'm going to take Atlanta because this is the game that they have to win.
I'm going to take Dallas because I think that Alfred Morris has been just salivating over this because he wanted to play. He was wanted to be the starter last week.
Alfred Morris will not be the starting running back
If Ezekiel Elliott
if Ezekiel Elliott
is not playing,
not playing.
he was named the starting running back last week. So why wouldn't he be named this week?
You're going to go with McFadden. Alfred
No.
Morris will remain
No way.
the secondary back.
Nope, not happening. I'm going with the Cowboys.
I'm taking Dallas.
in Dallas as well. Giants at San Francisco.
San Francisco gets their first win.
What a terrible game.
Is Jimmy
Just
G
a
starting?
terrible game.
Is this
No.
in the
He might
running?
play the whole year.
for
might be the
worst
worst game of the
NFL
year.
game of the year. I put it to you. I think it is. I think the 49ers get their first win.
Okay.
McAdoo's lost the locker room.
I got to go New York if Jimmy G's not there.
I have to do the same thing as well. I can't. I
This
can't
is just
take.
terrible.
I can't not take the Giants. Even the San Francisco just has shown me nothing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go San Francisco, just home
Okay.
team. I'm just going home team on
Patriots at Denver.
Patriots.
The smart money says Patriots, but
does.
the historic money says Broncos.
We do have
And
trouble in
that's-
Denver.
And Brock Osweiler plays well against the Pats.
He played
No, he
one game
doesn't.
against the Patriots.
Hey,
Not play
he's
well.
1-0.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm hate picking against Brock. Patriots.
And finally, Miami at Carolina.
Oh man, I was right when I said Jay Cutler was going to go off.
did
for
say
300
he'd
yards,
have over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no
interceptions.
picks, and he did.
But I don't know who to pick in this game.
Taking Carolina.
'cause I think the Panthers should win, but the Dolphins might win. It's one of those games where the Dolphins, I could see the Dolphins coming out and winning this game. So I don't really know who to pick. If I have to flip a coin, I'm just going to go with the home team. I'm picking the Panthers.
Okay.
Carolina.
Carolina.
Bold predictions.
Miami.
Go.
I was going to go with Miami too, just because. I don't think we have enough time for our 2-minute warning, so we'll have to postpone, I guess, till next week. For now, the show went by quick. I thought so. Anyway, hopefully
no bold
next
predictions
time,
this week?
no bold predictions this week. Sorry, maybe next time.
Okay.
Dustin, JT, Paul, Bryce. We'll see you next week on Huddle Up.